Hello, and welcome to Management of Change Overview Presentation. Management of change is a key element of an OSHA law called Process Safety Management, which covers highly hazardous materials. This law has been in effect since the early 1990s, and at Chemring, we make and process explosive materials, which are considered highly hazardous materials and, therefore, covered under this law too. Today, we are going to review our procedure, S223 Management of Change, re-emphasize our commitment to the MOC process, and explain how you may be involved in managing change. First, let's cover some basics. OSHA is the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, which makes and enforces workplace safety and health regulations in the United States. One of those laws, 1910.119, Process Safety Management for Highly Hazardous Chemicals, was enacted in the early 1990s as a result of numerous fires, explosions, deaths, and catastrophes in the chemical processing industry throughout its history. If you have ever worked in the chemical processing industry or oil refineries, you are likely already familiar with the elements of process safety management. Each of these 14 elements are addressed in our internal procedures as required by law, and each of the elements are interconnected and must work together to effectively make our workplace safe when processing energetics. For instance, within the element employee participation, employees must be involved in all elements of PSM. They help review process safety information, process hazard analysis, incident investigations, and pre-startup safety reviews, to name a few. Additionally, they must be trained in the operating and preventative maintenance procedures, emergency response plans, and any other element where their input would be valuable. Each of the elements of PSM is worthy of its own training course, but we are only focusing on management of change today. You can read the entire PSM plan in the managed document S4.4.6-16, called Process Safety Management Plan. For now, let's turn our attention to management of change. From our specific process document, S-223, for management of change, the purpose of the MOC process is twofold. First, it is a required component of process safety management. As such, it covers the listed change-related items listed in the law that you see here. It covers PSM-covered materials, which in our case are energetics and chemicals listed in the law at threshold quantities, and all the associated technology, equipment, procedures, facilities, and contractors who may work on the hazardous operations. Note that if equipment, for example, is a replacement in kind, then it is not considered a change. S223 lists examples of replacement in kind if you are ever in doubt. Secondly, non-process changes may cover a variety of different items within our company. The items you see listed here are given examples. Personnel changes such as a new position being created or an existing employee leaving the company or transferring to a different job. Facility layout changes such as moving a department to a different location in the same building. A change to organization structure such as creating a new department or combining operations under one manager instead of two. Making changes to scheduling, for example, adding production shifts or increasing work hours, both of which impact many aspects of our operations. Modifications to quality practices. Perhaps a client desires an additional step to ensure product quality. And any other changes to support services such as the ways in which the purchasing, finance, engineering, health, safety, and environmental or contracts department function, which may have either positive or negative effects on our operations. All of these changes must be properly evaluated and our rationale documented before we move forward with the proposed change. The heart of our change evaluation, or MOC, is an MOC request form, S233A. Anyone in our organization can initiate an MOC using this form. As you can see from this flowchart, the originator fills out the MOC request form in collaboration with representatives of the applicable teams. Usually, the originator will have a meeting with affected parties to ensure the request is thoroughly and thoughtfully considered and that the process is truly collaborative. After the MOC request form is complete, the originator submits it to the Configuration Management Group. They then route the document into the ECO system for approval by the approvers as identified on the form. After the MOC has been approved, Configuration Management closes the ECO and releases the MOC to the system. With regard to personnel changes, we do not use the MOC request form to document the process. The excerpt on screen describes the personnel change process and is continued on the next slide as well. The HR department has developed standardized checklists for managing personnel changes. The checklists help determine whether an employee held or will hold safety-critical responsibilities and ensures an effective transition or replacement of personnel. Additionally, HR has a job requisition process to help make effective personnel procurement. While not every personnel change requires MOC, we have defined key personnel as anyone at the supervisor level or higher. However, those of us who are not supervisors may be very critical to the organization, and our jobs may be deemed worthy of MOC based upon the criticality of our jobs. This determination will be made by the functional department head, HR, and HSE. Before we turn our attention to the MOC request form, please note this helpful chart that is contained within the procedure document. It is simply titled A Helpful Guide to MOC-Related Evaluations. It may be helpful to you as you navigate the PSM evaluation process. As you can see, it lists the type of evaluation, who has responsibility for the evaluation, when the evaluation is required, and applicable reference documents. Improvements such as this, which was suggested by an outside auditor, are an important part of our continuous improvement efforts. On the next few slides, we will review the MOC request form. It is fairly straightforward, but HSE is available to assist as needed. Simply complete your name as originator, the date of your request, the procedure number and project title, the applicable PHA number, PHA is Process Hazard Analysis, and associated documents. This is very important to help locate these documents when 5-year PHA revalidations are conducted. And a good description of the change and reason for the change. You are not limited in how much information you record, so be as thorough as possible. Next, mark yes or no for the questions regarding whether the change is related to a PSM-covered process, and check the applicable types of changes being considered. In Section 2, you will mark yes or no regarding each of the questions. Please note any thought or consideration in the Note column to denote your thoughts why this is a concern. This section is best completed collaboratively, with an HSE representative included as a team member. HSE can help explain some of the checklist items if they are unfamiliar to you. In Section 3, Action Items, you will record the action required for every yes answer in Section 2, along with who will be responsible for the completion of the action, whether the action is critical and must be completed prior to startup, and the target completion date. At the bottom of the action item listing, it is noted that any action items note closed before the release of the MOC will be tracked to completion via the Safety Action Tracker. The location of the SAT tracker is noted, however, It is not a public document, and you will need assistance from HSE in order to view the document. Regular meetings are held to keep safety actions in the forefront and ensure timely completion of each item. In Section 4, Approval Group Signatures and Comments, the originator will specify which management representatives from applicable departments should approve the MOC. The MOC request will be routed via ECO to those approvers. Based on your collaboration team meeting, the date of the meeting should be recorded here along with the final disposition. For example, if the team feels that further evaluation is required, they may specify that action and make notes below. Otherwise, the request should be marked Approved as Submitted or Approved with additional action items added. Based on Section 1, it should be noted here whether a new or revised PHA and pre-startup safety review is required, whether an evaluation team and pre-startup safety review is required, or whether only a PSSR is required. In some cases, no PSSR is required. Once the MOC request has been approved and released in Managed Docs, it becomes a searchable document. In Managed Docs, you may use the right side of the screen to narrow your search. For example, select Doc Type and use the drop-down arrow to select PSM. Then, select Doc Category and MOC. You will then get search results, usually in numerical MOC order, such as that on this slide here. In conclusion, this training session should help you think in terms of managing change at our facility and become comfortable with the MOC request process. Notable key components of this process are collaboration in the request phase to ensure that the best people are evaluating the change, identifying associated PHAs and associated docs, properly identifying the MOC approvers, and thorough tracking of action items to completion. If you have any other questions or concerns, please contact your supervisor of HSE. Thank you.